Jay, here's one of the big questions that we get from people who are interested in carnivore. Like, how do you just only eat those foods day after day after day?
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay on the plan?
For me, it's not that hard to stay on the plan for the most part because I enjoy what I eat. I find it simple to do. I have no need to count macros or get in depth of how many calories I'm eating or anything like that. And I do really enjoy most of the food I eat. I eat a variety. I don't eat just those few things a day. I eat various cuts of meat prepared in different ways, and I like it.
And you like how it makes you feel.
And I like how it makes me feel. And I think that's a huge part of it as well is we think about having to be motivated from the old paradigm of when we do, say, calories in, calories out, low fat, that type of thing. When staying on the diet felt like a struggle, like I was starving, like I was saving all my calories for treats, this constant cycle of just feeling like I needed more food. That's not the case on carnivore. There's a satiation, and there's also a drastic change in my mental state. So where I felt stressed and depleted, I now feel nourished and really pretty carnivore zen.
Like it says right in the theme song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my brain isn't seeking the comfort of food when I'm stressed out. It's feeling pretty good most of the time.
That is a really big one for me. And I get it. When people are eating a traditional Western diet full of carbs and seed oils, and even if you think you're eating in a relatively healthful way, and yet your A1C is rising, the waistline is expanding, there's autoimmune issues are creeping in, and you feel like, well, I'm not cheating too badly. I'm not having dessert every single day.
No, moderation.
And yet things are slipping the wrong direction. And then you hear all of these wonderful stories from people who go carnivore, and you're like, I want that, but I can't imagine not having, name whatever the favorite food is. And that not being able to imagine it is, I get that totally. But what is so strange about carnivore is once you've kind of gotten to the other side of it, you don't think about those things. They don't come up. So the things you couldn't imagine not having, you don't even think about making.
Yeah.
And it is so hard to communicate that to people who aren't in it because it's such a complete shift in how you view what food is.
So tell me about the shift.
Well, I mean, how many decades was I trying to figure out how to both lose weight and feel better, and have my cake and eat it too?
Almost all the decades.
Because I was always trying to find out, like, well, is it calories? Is it just keto where I can have a certain level of sugar each day and keeping that sweet tooth alive? It was always destined to fail because I never was thinking about the food for its purpose. I was never thinking about where I was deriving my energy and what was building my body. And if I look at spaghetti, or if I look at a chocolate chip cookie or ice cream, I understand those things aren't really very useful for energy or for building my body. They're really useful for my gut bacteria to rebel and try to overthrow me.
And what you're saying sounds like this thought experiment. Like, oh, I'm not thinking of it as food. And I get what you're saying there. But the strange part is, which you also communicated, the body isn't wanting that.
No. Once you give the body what it really wants, a zigga. It loves it and you feel good. So we had a off-plan meal. We talked about it on our live. And the sense of fullness and expansion in my belly and just a weird aftertaste on my mouth,
Yeah.
it all showed me none of that I put in is something the body really wants.
Yeah.
It tasted pretty good, but it wasn't food that the body wanted or needed. When I have steak and eggs, the body just sucks it in. I get full right around the penultimate bite, the second to last bite. I'm sort of like, I could leave the last bite there. I could give that to the dog. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to eat it. So the satiety hits and I don't need dessert. I don't need anything else.
So the body and the mind recalibrate.
Yes. We could have done a 1-minute video.
There we go. But they recalibrate so that what you're imagining is going to be the struggle just isn't. It just isn't anymore.
So that is the big challenge when you're faced with making the change,
Yeah.
is that you have an idea about how you're going to feel deprived. And so that pressures you away from making the step to get into it. And how do you break through? How do you get your mind and say, I'm going to set aside my worry about future cravings? Well, this is a big question because as someone who has been plagued by anxiety, a lot of my anxiety was just worrying in the future.
That's true. Yeah.
And the only answer to that is to be as present as you possibly can and eat the meal that's due right now and not think about having to eat all of the ones in the future.
And there's a certain amount of strategizing. Like we're talking about after the recalibration, after we're on the other side.
Yeah.
And we ate fairly primal before going into carnivore and had some moderation around sugar. Yet we had the cashew bucket. And I do mean it was like one of those Costco containers of cashews. And I would I would slide by it every so often, grab a few, pop them in my mouth and eat. So there is a bit of strategizing. I had to not eat those cashews. I had to get them out of my sight. And eventually, when we were both carnivore, out of the house.
Yes.
Completely. So there is that. And if someone in your household is not carnivore, it is getting it out of sight. It is putting it in that cabinet, perhaps. Breaking those patterns that you already have around food. It was just a habit. I wasn't really hungry. It wasn't a huge sacrifice, but those habits are there.
Once you do that for a while and you start getting the benefits, maybe not even weight loss, maybe it's just improved A1C or for me, IBS and reflux resolve pretty quickly. Those wins are so powerful and so they reinforce what you're doing. And you start to feel like, well, why would I screw this up now? Because you can see progress happening. And progress is happiness.
Yeah.
Making steps toward a better life, a better quality of life. There's no bigger win.
Yeah. Happiness is progress.
So another thing about, I don't know how to phrase this, about understanding or finding the motivation to take this step. For me, I had lots of things that I wanted or hoped that carnivore would do for me around, weight loss was one of them, body recomp, all kinds of healing, because I had seen so many stories on YouTube. And so one of the things we've said many, many times is binge Barry to build belief. Now, you don't have to watch Barry. It could be binge Carrie or Baker or Chafee or any number of the other ones. Find someone who you resonate with and whose problems are similar enough to your own that you're seeing your future in them.
Yes.
And then that, for me anyway, that really gave me very deep commitment to stepping into it and giving it enough time for me to see the benefits.
Yeah, and it reinforces the messages of health, the messages of hope, the messages of optimism. And if you have people in your life who maybe aren't on board, or you haven't, or you're scared to even tell them, this is the group that will help you, like you said, to build that belief. When you don't necessarily believe it yourself, they are there cheerleading you on, even if you don't know them. And I love that idea of the future self. That is huge.
Well, my future self is going to keep eating mostly meat.
Yes.
There was a while, probably maybe 6 months in or a year in, I had an idea that, well, maybe I'll just start reincorporating some veggies or sweet potatoes occasionally. Once all of my healing is done, then
yes.
I will be able to eat X, Y, and Z. And right now, I don't think that's the course for me.
No.
I see too much of a slippery slope for my habits in that, which isn't to say that we don't occasionally have an off-plan meal.
Right.
But we've been really excellent about not sliding down that slope, and by getting right back into steak and eggs for breakfast, sardines for lunch, steak for dinner. If you're eating that many meals, I tend to eat 3. And, having a perfectly clean day following an off-plan day, and then following it with a nice clean day. And what's amazing to me is I've lost 36 pounds. I'm pretty much at goal weight. I could put on some muscle mass. That would be beneficial to me. But I can buffer a bad meal. And yet I still don't feel great if I have it. But it doesn't reignite that old pattern that I would have when my birthday would come around. And I would have been 3 months into doing perfect keto. And then that would start 1 year of just a free-for-all. The roller coaster, I am off of it. And it's very easy for me to stay off of it now.
I know it's really remarkable. We were talking about that last night, how drastically different that is for you, especially. You had a really familial pattern of the roller coaster.
And we've talked many times. You're a moderator.
Yeah.
So when we first were dating and we had one of those things of Oreos, she would be able to eat 2 of them. And to me, that was 2 that I didn't get. Because there is no stopping eating Oreos if there are any Oreos.
Yeah.
So I had a pretty strong, amazingly, the heaviest I ever got at 6 feet tall was 206 pounds. I could have easily been much, much heavier, but for whatever reason, genetically or maybe just my gut was so bad
that
true. I just couldn't keep eating that way long enough to gain the weight. I might have been blessed with IBS. Really.
Well, and that's the thing we say about carnivore is it is self-correcting. As you've sort of alluded to, when you go off plan, you know it. And even if you can buffer a meal, you just don't feel as good. And for me, I get mental symptoms pretty easily, it seems, if I have an off-plan meal. Now, again, it doesn't mean I don't do it once in a while, but the really important thing I think you brought up is that you just carry on. You don't wait till the weekend's over. You don't beat yourself up with negative self-talk and talk about what a loser you are. You don't do anything but just have the next meal and have that be on plan. And because you've recalibrated, because you're off of that roller coaster, there's a confidence in being able to do that.
Yes.
That's built up.
And I'll say this. The benefits don't just stop coming after 2 years.
No.
I just was testing my blood pressure, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
My blood pressure had been above 120 over whatever. Now, some people say that isn't necessarily high. It's like 110 over 65 or something.
Yeah.
I've never seen those numbers. And so I am continuing to get healing. And it's great. It's wonderful.
And I feel like I am too. I shared recently that my blood sugar had trended up like many carnivores do. not in the danger zone or anything like that, but more than it was pre-carnivore. And it's been trending down. So I think there are some theories for that. Yeah. And I think it all wraps up into healing.
The body
and rebalancing.
It's really about letting the body do what it needs.
Yeah.
So it's going to do hormonally what it needs. It's going to do blood sugar what it needs. It's going to do ketones what it needs. It's what Dr. Kiltz basically says is feed it a bunch of fat and don't look at anything. And I can't do that. I'm not constitutionally capable of not looking at all the numbers. But really, that's kind of what happens anyway. The body's going to do, if you let it, if you feed it, and you don't throw in poison, it will eventually heal.
Which is another thing we've talked about recently is the looking at being ancestrally appropriate. And so if you have that belief and that striving to eat and more ancestrally appropriate, the motivation is there.
Yeah.
The purpose is there. The meaning is there. And when we do have that off-plan meal, well, I guess we found the honey pot or honeycomb in the woods for the day, and that's it.
Yeah. That's
there's one honeycomb, and that's it.
Yeah. And pretty much it's like, that honeycomb wasn't that good.
Yeah, usually it's kind of like,
Well, if you're watching this and you resonate with what we're saying, we'd love to hear from you. And please give us a like and subscribe. That's always beneficial for us.
And leave your motivation tips.
Yeah, we want to hear why you're motivated to do carnivore and stay the course.
Yes.
So I'm Eric and
I'm JJ.
Yeah. And so every day stronger.
Every day more blessed.
Their lipids are high, their doctors are worried, they're both gonna die. Is LDL harmless? They sure hope it's so. It's the JJ and Eric Carnivore Show. Salad is toxic, seed oils are doom. They rub on tallow like greasy perfume. Ribeyes and bacon, that's all they know. It's the JJ and Eric Carnivore Show. No wheat, no kale, they're laughing at greens. 18-hour fasts are their favorite routines. Sugars for suckers, they're chomping on fat. Streaming to you live from the tallow vat. Eric's got muscles, JJ's got zen. They're coming to chat with their carnivore friends. So toss out the lettuce, embrace the beef glow. It's the JJ and Eric